Khabib just fired one of the coldest shots at Conor McGregor, and he did it right on X. My count is 56 former drug addicts at my rehabilitation centers in Dagestan that I treated. Come to Dagestan. They will take care of you here. Mexico didn't help you as far as I can see. Khabib basically turned all the public speculation around Conor into a clean, calculated jab.
Conor McGregor detonated the MMA world once again by blasting Khabib Nurmagomedov with a claim so harsh it instantly reignited the sport's most toxic rivalry. He essentially accused the Dagestani icon of cashing in on his late father's legacy to push digital papakas, and the internet nearly caught fire from the fallout. It started like the classic McGregor storms fans have seen before, only this time it felt far more personal, as if the entire feud from 2018 had suddenly been dragged back into the spotlight with even heavier emotion than before. McGregor had recently returned from his usual hiatus from social media, and instead of easing in, he jumped straight into chaos mode. The trigger came from Khabib's new NFT-style project based around digital papakas, a modern spin on the traditional headdress that's deeply tied to Dagestani identity and something Khabib famously wore during his UFC run. The former lightweight champion showcased the collectibles online, and the digital items sold out quickly across his platforms, which included his activity on Telegram. It was supposed to be a cultural celebration mixed with modern tech, but McGregor saw it as something entirely different.
Conor McGregor says that he's back and that he traveled to Tijuana, Mexico and underwent ibogaine treatment. He was shown what would have been his death and how soon it was to be and how it would have impacted his children. He was looking down on himself as it happened, and then he was looking out from a coffin. God then came to him in the Holy Trinity. Yeah, so guess what? So after all that, we've got to renew the rivalry with Khabib. Khabib did this auction where he was selling papakas. Conor McGregor took exception to that and said, apologize this instant for using your late father's name to sell these gifts that cost your fans so much of their money. I'm not going to read the rest of this, but this also ended up with Conor calling Khabib Inbred. And yeah, guess what? All of this was deleted. So then this tweet came from Khabib's account, and it said, my count is 56 former drug addicts at my rehabilitation center in Dagestan that I treated. Come to Dagestan, the notorious MMA. They'll take care of you. Mexico didn't help you as far as I can see.
The Irish star couldn't hold back. He claimed Khabib had used his father's name along with Dagestan's cultural symbolism to push sales, only to scrub the content afterward, leaving buyers empty-handed. For McGregor, that wasn't just a marketing misstep. He painted it as a betrayal of fans and an insult to the legacy of Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov. He didn't stop at that. He contrasted Khabib's digital venture with Islam Makhachev's recent moment after UFC 322, when the double champion returned home and placed both world titles on his father's shoulders. McGregor viewed that display as the proper way to honor a parent and used it to fire off even more pointed remarks.
Do you think Conor could ever apologize to Khabib and bury the hatchet?
It would have to be in private, and you would have to really mean it, man. You'd have to convince Khabib that you really meant it, because he just doesn't play that game, that talking sell a fight game. He doesn't play that game.
Especially when it comes to like his wife, his people.
Oh, everything.
Naturally, the MMA fan base dived headfirst into the familiar trenches of the McGregor versus Khabib rivalry that dominated the sport years ago. It felt like history repeating itself, with old wounds pulled back open. Khabib didn't stay silent either. He fired back online and made it clear he believed McGregor was twisting the situation. He defended his digital project by pushing the idea that the papaka collectibles were meant to celebrate Dagestani tradition, not to deceive people. He insisted the digital gifts carried real value and were created with the intention of sharing culture, not exploiting it for personal profit.
Is Conor McGregor right about Khabib Nurmagomedov? So Khabib recently was seen on his socials selling digital papakas on his Telegram, which are the hats that he used to sport when he was fighting, and apparently after less than 24 hours of this announcement, $4.3 million worth of papakas were sold. Despite this being a digital product, all sales ended shortly after, and all posts about this deal were deleted. Longtime foe Conor McGregor spoke about this situation by saying there's no way Khabib is a good guy by using his late father's name and Dagestani culture to sell a scam to his fans with digital NFTs and then delete all the evidence afterwards. But what do you think?
McGregor wasn't satisfied and immediately doubled down. Rather than backing off, he raised the stakes again and demanded an apology from Khabib for allegedly using his father's name in a way that, in McGregor's eyes, dishonored his memory. He mocked the idea of calling something a gift when fans had to purchase it, and he threw more insults at Khabib's intelligence, making the clash even uglier. This round of insults escalated quickly, and instead of cooling the situation, it lit the fuse for an even more heated exchange. Khabib responded by going in a completely different direction. He pointed toward the rehabilitation centers he helps run in Dagestan, claiming he had guided dozens of former addicts toward recovery. He then told McGregor that the doors of those facilities would be open for him too, taking a clear jab at the Irishman's past struggles. He even mentioned McGregor's recent trip to Mexico, where the former UFC champion underwent treatment using ibogaine under medical supervision.
Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov are once again going back and forth on Twitter. It all started when Khabib posted what looks like a crypto scam on his Twitter and his social medias. He's selling NFTs of some sort to all his fans, and then Conor McGregor called him out after people started claiming Khabib was scamming. Conor talks about how Khabib is using his father's name to sell these NFTs and then rug pull his own fans. I don't know if that's what's happening, but that's what Conor McGregor's saying. Khabib then responds to Conor McGregor saying his trip to Mexico did not get him off the drugs. As you can see in the tweet, Khabib is telling Conor to come to Dagestan and go to some rehabilitation center. Conor then fires back at Khabib saying, "You're not there," and showing Khabib's Twitter says that he doesn't even live in Dagestan. The greatest rivalry in sports, Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov, is back, full steam. And you know what? Put him at the White House. Conor versus Khabib 2, a true American story. Whose side are you on here? Khabib, is he scamming his fans? Is Conor McGregor in the right for calling him out?
McGregor fired right back by saying Khabib wouldn't even be there to meet him if he ever made the trip, calling him a liar and accusing him of running from financial scrutiny. He dragged Khabib's family into the conversation and used religion to aim another dart, saying he prayed for them while accusing Khabib of hiding behind dishonesty. At this point, the exchange had fully spiraled into the type of verbal war both men have become infamous for, the kind where lines are crossed so fast that the reactions online become divided between shock, support, and uncontrollable speculation. From there, Khabib made another move to close the chapter on his own terms. He resurfaced clips from their 2018 championship fight, the bout that ended with him submitting McGregor and then leaping over the cage to ignite one of the wildest brawls in UFC history. It was his way of reminding McGregor that the result of their actual fight had never changed, no matter how loud the trash talk became. He reposted moments of him pounding away at McGregor on the ground, almost as if to say the rivalry had already been settled in the only place that truly mattered to him.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an expert on what the hat represents, but like a gift with value that you could share with your friends. It's an NFT. It's a thing. It's not like someone is gifting this to you. But all right, fine. And okay, now it pops off. Someone writes to Conor McGregor about this. Bro is legit a full-time scam artist.
By the way, I don't think he wrote to Conor. Conor's just responding to this.
Okay. Conor McGregor writes, "What a shame and a stain on his father's name. Just wow. To scam fans using his father and his country's culture is just so low. Father's plan has now become father's scam. Very sad." On the opposite side of this, it was great to see Islam Mack honor his own father by putting the double world titles on his shoulders and saying there's not many fathers of double world champions. Truth.
The Irishman, however, kept pushing the storyline forward as he reacted to UFC 322. Since he knows better than most how difficult it is to win titles in multiple divisions, he used Islam Makhachev's recent triumph to emphasize another divide between Makhachev and his longtime rival. Makhachev had just conquered welterweight and re-established himself as the pound-for-pound king after outclassing Jack Della Maddalena in New York. The dominant win impressed McGregor enough for him to use it as an example of what he considered genuine accomplishment, especially when he saw Makhachev lay both belts across his father's shoulders. He praised that moment publicly, seeing it as a pure act of gratitude rather than a marketing ploy.
Man, like, it was just complete domination, and
yeah, I do think Islam pressure's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think it is all the hype. Like it's built up to be. It is just next level. Much like Chimaev, they're just sticky fellas.
Yeah, man.
And mate, and like you just mentioned it, like how much slower he looked in that third round. every time Islam would take Jack down, Jack was just getting gassed defending the submission attempts, trying to move him off him. And then when they got back to their feet or started the round again, his jabs just didn't have the pop and crispness that they needed to have, whereas Islam looked much the same.
Islam Makhachev's career has been on a meteoric rise lately. After beating Della Maddalena in a calculated and nearly flawless performance, he became a two-division champion and reclaimed his spot as the pound-for-pound ruler. He continues to carry the reputation of being methodical, technical, and nearly impossible to beat. His win stirred a fresh wave of discussion around who deserves the next shot at the welterweight throne. Candidates piled up quickly, with names like Kamaru Usman, Bilal Muhammad, Michael Morales, Carlos Prates, and Ian Machado Gary entering the conversation. Makhachev addressed the state of the division after UFC Qatar, where he cornered fighters and observed the talent pool up close. He recognized how competitive the welterweight class is right now, calling it one of the deepest and most active divisions in the sport. He mentioned that several fighters had made strong statements recently, and he expected the UFC to finalize his next matchup within weeks. When asked specifically about Machado Gary, he admitted the Irishman didn't surprise him with his performance, but acknowledged his winning streak and youth, saying that if he impressed the UFC, he might become the next challenger.
Тебе интересно, этот соперник, он вызвал тебя на бой, на поединок, особенно с учетом того, что получится новая веха противостояния Дагестана с Ирландией?
Да, было бы интересно. Тоже хороший боец. Думаю, получится интересно. Ну, посмотрим, если как он меня вчера не удивил. Если он удивил UFC, то, наверное, он будет следующим.
Вчера вы здоровались с Шавкатом Рахмоновым, удалось о чем-нибудь поговорить, и что ты скажешь по поводу его заявления о том, что он самая главная угроза в 77?
Ну, во-первых, ему надо вернуться, он уже больше года не дрался. Претендент не может год отстаивать с травмами и прийти и драться за пояс. Да, мы поздоровались, он меня поздравил, пожали просто руку. Ну, если он восстановится, и UFC решит, что он следующий, почему бы и нет.
Machado Gary himself stepped forward with bold confidence following his victory over former champion Bilal Muhammad in Qatar. He used his post-fight spotlight to send a measured but assertive message toward Makhachev, positioning himself as someone ready to challenge the new dual-weight champion. Gary insisted his striking and grappling abilities make him an interesting matchup at welterweight, and the win over Muhammad only fueled his ambition to move into title contention.
Islam Makhachev is the protege of Khabib. I am the protege of Conor, right? This is the new wave of Dagestan, a more technical on the feet, a more technical grappler than Khabib. I am a longer, faster, more versatile version of Conor, right? It's the perfect fight to make. He has to take me down. I have to keep it on the feet. He can choose it wherever he wants. The ball's in his court, whenever he's ready, whenever he wants. If he wants to do it in Dagestan, Russia, I will see him there. I'm not afraid of any man walking this earth, but he has to do the right thing now. He has to do the right thing. He has a duty as champion of the welterweight division to fight the best in the world. Tonight, I proved I'm the best in the world.
It wasn't just Gary who stirred the pot. Ilia Topuria, who recently rose to championship status at lightweight, started floating ideas about testing himself against Makhachev too. His reasoning was simple. He had already been thinking about moving up to welterweight before capturing his lightweight title, and the idea of facing Makhachev in a unique catchweight showdown appealed to him. Topuria even suggested the creation of a special pound-for-pound championship belt to represent a fight that didn't fit neatly into a traditional weight class. He made it clear that such a bout would interest him, though he expected to face Paddy Pimblett first, while waiting to see how the divisions shook out.
I know UFC want to do some big fight in White House. Which fight is gonna be bigger than this? I know he's gonna fight soon. He want to fight in White House, and I also want to be there. If UFC want this fight, we can do this. If I have to cut 155, then I might have to pay for this.
Not everyone was convinced that Makhachev deserved the level of praise he was getting. Nate Diaz, always unfiltered, weighed in with his own opinions. When asked who the MMA greatest of all time was, Diaz didn't hesitate to name John Jones. He believed Makhachev had been elevated too quickly in the GOAT conversation. To him, Makhachev hadn't faced the level of legendary competition required to be placed alongside fighters like BJ Penn, who Diaz considered the greatest lightweight in history. He insisted that nothing Makhachev had done so far had stuck in his memory the way true GOAT moments did. Diaz wasn't necessarily saying Makhachev could never reach that status, but he felt the hype had outrun the resume. He even argued that Topuria seemed more well-rounded at this stage.
In your opinion, who's the #1 pound-for-pound fighter right now in the UFC?
Who's in the UFC right now? John Jones for sure.
What about Islam?
They just throw that They just throw like that. He's been there for like 2 minutes and he ain't beat nobody that great. Oh. And they think I'm just hating, but I'm like, that's because we got our differences, but there's that I've seen that I'll just remember forever. So when you get that like that and you got whatever Islam did, and it's like that don't even match. Like I ain't seen nothing from them. I can't even remember anything but getting bored in his all them fools last fight. So that name shouldn't even been thrown at those guys. Yeah.
Georges St-Pierre offered a completely different take. The Canadian legend, who also won championships in 2 weight classes, was seated cage side during Makhachev's welterweight debut and came away impressed. While some fans complained that the fight lacked a highlight reel finish, GSP believed those criticisms showed a lack of understanding about the technical side of MMA. From his perspective, Makhachev fought perfectly, avoided unnecessary damage, controlled every moment, and defeated a dangerous opponent in a heavier division. For GSP, that level of dominance proved Makhachev might very well be the best pound-for-pound fighter right now.
Right now, I think the best pound-for-pound is probably Islam Makhachev. I mean, I was there, I witnessed his performance last Saturday. It was freaking brilliant. Unbelievable. I don't think he even took a punch. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
A lot of people there would be, oh yeah, it was a decision. These people who says that, I'm sorry, because they don't know the art of fighting. They have no idea. They don't understand the art of fighting. His performance was freaking amazing. You know, like yeah, the fight, you know, was not a flawless victory with a crazy submission or knockout, but the way you're going up in a weight class and beat Jake Della Magdalena like he did is freaking hard, man.
The welterweight division became even more crowded with challengers after UFC 322. Michael Morales and Carlos Prates both scored knockouts on the undercard and used their post-fight moments to demand a shot at the new champion. The call-outs made sense, as the division is currently stacked with ambitious contenders eager to take advantage of the shift in championship status. Each fighter believed their recent performances put them in the running, and the UFC's matchmaking conversations grew more intense by the day. All of this swirling activity only added more fuel to McGregor's online storm, because every major storyline somehow found its way back to the dynamic between him, Khabib, and Islam, the 3 names fans never stopped debating. McGregor's own history with holding 2 belts created an interesting contrast to Makhachev's current rise. Even though McGregor hasn't stepped into the octagon in years, his presence remains constant in every major discussion because he knows exactly how to redirect the spotlight.
Islam was one of the dudes that always had Khabib in the practice room. And at the time, it was kind of like Aljo and Merab. When Aljo left, then Merab finally started to shine and stuff. It was the same thing with Khabib and Islam, in my own opinion. I always thought Islam was more of a conditioned athlete and doing his thing, but best of luck. But in my prime, kick your ass.
By the time this entire wave of drama settled, Khabib seemed determined to close the window on engaging any further. After reposting the footage of their fight, he shared another stinging shot to finalize the exchange, at least from his side. It served as his final reminder that the rivalry lived its most definitive moments inside the cage, not on social platforms. Meanwhile, McGregor continued posting, showing no signs of stepping away from the verbal back and forth, even as fans debated whether this surge of energy from him meant an official return to fighting was closer than expected. What became clear through all of this was that their rivalry remains the most explosive chapter in UFC history. No matter how far apart their careers move, any spark between them pulls the entire MMA world back into the madness they created years ago. And as McGregor eyes a comeback and Khabib remains firm in retirement, fans seem torn between hoping for one more showdown and watching the feud live as a never-ending story that spills out across every corner of MMA culture.